The best time to start was early, and the second best time to start is right now. How you guys doing? I'm in the UAE right now. I'm probably going to be here for the foreseeable future. And as you guys know, at least my loyal subscribers, I think the 10 of you that you do watch my videos, I do post Pro Talks every now and then, every few years, whenever I feel passionate about something. And I've been thinking about this topic, especially in the UAE, and I'll come to that. But the fact is that the best time to start is right now. Actually, it's not right now. The best time to start was when the winners started, right? I mean, if you could invest in Bitcoin back when it was 50 USD, that was the right time to start, right? That doesn't mean you can't invest in it right now. If you were to take advantage of the rupee ruble parity, that was back when it happened, right? But that doesn't mean you can't trade in forex right now, right? If you were to go to the gym, you probably should have started going when you were 14 years old. But just because you're 24 right now doesn't mean you can't start. Doesn't mean you can build. You can't build anything significant whatsoever. So the way I'm going to explain this is through an example. So take two 35-year-olds. One 35-year-old has millions of dollars in investments, right? Has built a nice big career for himself, has a nice wife who is somewhat happy with him, because let's be real, your wife is never really happy with you. Um, he has maybe two kids and has a third one on the way. He has a nice place where he's staying, some sort of respect at work, in fact, a decent amount of respect at work, and he has enough time to spend with his family and also work at the same time. And versus another 35-year-old who perhaps started his career a little bit later, or perhaps didn't push as hard as he didn't start investing, didn't really take care of his wife. His wife is less happier with him, like less happier, right? Maybe he doesn't have any kids, or maybe he has just the one kid who's also pissed off at him all the time. No real investments, out of shape, lazy, has nothing really to show for most of his life. You put both of these and they cannot compete. They simply cannot compete at the level where they are, right? Because one of them is here and one of them is here. But that doesn't mean that the 35-year-old who I mentioned in the second example, the one who's right over here, cannot eventually get to this point. But if he starts thinking, oh, no, 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 everyone around me is so much better than I am, right? I cannot beat them. He's absolutely right. He cannot beat them, not right now at least, right? But what's going to happen is if he starts working towards it, if he starts taking his life a little bit more seriously, if he starts doing the things that you need to do to win, then maybe he starts closing the gap between these two, right? Especially because when people do start winning, they become a little comfortable, they become a little bit lazy, and it's very common. So maybe this 35-year-old who has a fantastic life, right? Somewhat happy wife, somewhat happy life. Uh, maybe he loses a bit of his edge, right? Maybe he decides, okay, you know what? I've been busting my ass since I was 17 years old. I'm going to calm down a little bit. Maybe I'm going to play some more golf. Maybe I'm going to go out with my friends. Maybe I'm going to go out and, go take these trips, do whatever. And by no means am I saying is it a bad idea to actually enjoy your life, right? I mean, he deserves it, right? And maybe at the same time, the 35-year-old who's right over here, maybe he decides, you know what, I'm going to take my life seriously for once. I'm going to like grab my life by the balls and actually live my life instead of letting it happen to me, right? And 10 years down the line, maybe this gap closes, maybe it comes closer to here. And by the time both of them are 60, so 10 years down the line would be by the time they're both 45. I think the average guy retires at 60, right? By the time they're both at 60, the gap may be even closer. In fact, it might just be that because this guy started later, because he has more to prove, because he has more of a fire inside him, he absolutely destroys the first 35-year-old. And it it's so important that you know that, okay, you may have wasted a significant portion of your life, right? Maybe you didn't do all the right things, right? And I see a lot of people mentioning, oh, no, no, I should have started lifting weights then, or I should have started working my job then, or maybe I should have started paying attention in university then, right? Which is absolutely true. You should have, right? You absolutely should have. You were absolutely wrong to not have, right? But that isn't going to change anything, right? You cannot be 18 years old again. You cannot be 15 years old again. You cannot be 11 years old again. If you're 25 years old, you're 25 years old. Deal with it, right? But you also need to think about the fact that because you have this lingering thought in the back of your head, which you should know, is that, okay, I wasted a bunch of these years, right? And maybe people look at you a little differently. Like maybe 30 years old, you don't really have the nicest career, you have not really much going for you, right? And people just look at you like, what the fuck is this guy doing with his life, right? Maybe you have a lot more to prove. right? And in my experience with dealing with a multitude of different people, the guys who have a lot more to prove generally prove it, right? As long as they keep working. And that just goes to show that the best time to start is right now. The second best time to start is right now, right? Just because you cannot compete with the people around you at the moment doesn't mean you can't compete with them at all, right? And it's very important to know that. So anyway, I told you I'd come to the UAE later. I'm over here. I just turned 22 years old, right? And I think I'm happy with what all I've done with my life so far, right? And I know that there's a lot more to do, a lot more to achieve, right? But I do see 23 years old, 23 or sorry, I'm sorry. I do see people that are 23 years old driving fantastic cars over here, living in penthouses, you know, doing this, doing that, right? And they have multiple successful businesses. And I look at them and I think, you know, what the fuck am I doing wrong? Right? And the answer is nothing really, right? Because I'm still here. I'm still here and I'm still working and I still, oh my goodness, I'm still trying to get started. I'm still trying to, you know, build something of myself. And that's the most important part of it, right? You gotta want to prove yourself. You gotta want to, you have to have something to prove. So, like I said, the best time to start was when the winners started, right? That's the best time. The best time to start was early, right? But the second best time is always right now. And I don't care what age you are. I don't care how much experience you have or don't have. I don't care how much education you have or don't have, right? You can always find a way to improve your lifestyle. You can always find a way to improve your relationships, and you can absolutely always find a way to improve your income. So, best time to start was early. Second best time to start is right now. All the best.